I think once I did the interview and I kind of like was like, it was my face. I blamed it on my face. And I was just like, let's just end this here. I think everyone kind of lost interest because for a really long time, or for not for really, it felt like a long time, but for that period of time where I didn't really say anything, there were a lot of people saying like, leave her alone and kind of defending me as if I were like crying somewhere. And I was like, I'm just waiting for this to go away. I was fine. I think that once people realized that I was like not that upset about it and that it wasn't going to be that much drama involved in like the story behind the actor in the commercial, I think people lost interest,
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. Know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the clip out.
Welcome to the Clip Out, episode 187. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hi.
Hi.
Big interview this week.
Big interview.
Very excited.
Yes.
Monica Ruiz, you might remember her from
the big commercial that went viral
right.
last year.
It's all anybody was talking about before COVID.
Yeah.
was the Peloton commercial from last year, where it appeared within the commercial like perhaps the husband had bought the bike without asking her if she
what
wanted
she
the bike.
wanted.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so she, here's a really cool thing. I didn't realize, I don't think either of us realized it until during the interview. You'll hear us figure this out in real time. She had not done another interview since the Today Show.
Yeah. I was very surprised by that when she mentioned it. I was like, oh, I just kind of assumed
That
there were other interviews.
she would have made the rounds. Everybody was knocking at her door.
Well, and I guess also because we heard about it so much.
Totally.
That it just felt like she was out there.
Yeah.
But she wasn't. So it's great to hear her point of view on how she feels about the whole thing. And also how she felt about the fact that it felt like other people were kind of talking for her. So you can kind of, she's very open. So it's a great interview.
It's really her first full-length interview about the entire subject, because the one that she gave to the Today Show was in conjunction with Ryan Reynolds as part of the Aviation Gin thing. And
exactly.
So this is her first real sit down.
And she's one of us now. Like she rides.
Yes.
So like she's one of us.
Yes.
So.
She doesn't just play one on TV.
Also, update. I talked to her today.
Okay.
She hurt her toe getting off of her bike.
Uh-oh.
Yesterday. Somebody had told her to plug in an Ethernet cord.
Okay.
And so she hurt her toe. It might be broken.
Uh-oh.
That'll play into the conversation later.
Yes.
So
just store that away.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the big interview for the week. I think it's a pretty fascinating interview, especially just kind of like what that did to her life.
Absolutely.
So before we get to all that, what else do you have in store for people this week?
Well, we're going to talk about yet another lawsuit. I mean, oof.
2 yet another lawsuits.
Do we have both on the schedule this week?
We do.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. 2 more lawsuits. So that'll be fun. We're going to talk about Pilates dropping. We're going to talk about Apple Fitness. We're going to talk to John Mills about what is going on with the stock market and competitors this week. We are going to talk about porn and how it relates to Peloton.
This podcast just got interesting. 187 episodes in, and then, I'm finally intrigued.
And then a whole bunch of stuff going on with the Instructor. So lots of great stuff.
Well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us until they decide to take us down off of Apple.
Porn talk?
No, because of Apple Fitness.
Because of Apple Fitness.
I don't want any Peloton stuff on there. But while you can, be sure and subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also leave us a review. That would be very helpful.
We love reviews.
We do. We have a new review. This is from Spy versus Spy Leaderboard.
Okay. I recognize that. I can't put a name with it right now, but I definitely recognize the leaderboard name.
Yeah, because she sent you a message. I think, is this the one who's, I'm assuming that her grandfather created Spy versus Spy for Mad Magazine?
Yes.
Yeah.
But why Did you already read this review? Because wasn't that whole thing?
No, she said, I think I made a reference to Mad Magazine, and she sent you a message through the Facebook
Okay.
about like, hey, tell Tom.
Okay.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, very cool story.
Yeah. And so she says, fantastic laugh, hilarious and informative for Peloton fans. I listen to this podcast when I need something light. Crystal's laugh is amazing. I also really respect that they are using their platform to speak up for the right way to advocate as a business for BLM. Kudos. So, well, thank you. That's
nice.
very kind of you.
Thank you.
And
you don't get much of that kind of feedback.
So, if you would like to leave a review, we would love to hear it, most likely. And you can do that over on iTunes. And what else am I plugging? Oh, yeah, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com, which I sent out this week.
I know you did.
And
it was Monday.
It got sent out.
Wait, maybe it happened Sunday night.
No, it was Monday.
Okay.
But it got sent out.
It did.
So hush.
Which is more regular than I can say.
Yeah. And also don't forget our YouTube channel. If you would be so kind as to run over there and subscribe, youtube.com/theclipout. All of these episodes live there in full video, so you can see the pictures and articles and stuff that we're talking about as we talk about them.
Yeah.
And you can also see the faces that I get Crystal to make when I say horribly offensive things.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So there's all of that. Let's dig in, shall we?
We shall.
The headline from TMZ: Peloton sued, deaf folks need more guidance. Do we still say deaf?
We don't.
It seems
we do not. TMZ can do what they want, but as a podcast, we do not.
Yeah.
We say hearing impaired.
Yeah.
But TMZ, they're not so woke.
That's
they're out calling other people out.
Yeah.
But they could work on their headlines.
So apparently
my guess is it was better for SEO. That's my guess.
And it's also a shorter headline. Like hearing impaired.
Hearing impaired is really long, like for that slug line.
Yeah, like it will make it difficult to construct a headline that doesn't just read hearing impaired.
Yeah.
So I mean, I get it from that regard. But,
yeah.
Anyway. So yeah, that community is upset that there is not closed captioning on the Peloton videos.
So did you read this article?
I only read TMZ when somebody dies.
Oh, okay. So the reason I was asking if you actually read it is because I don't think it's these folks. I think it's like this person. And the reason that I mentioned that is because I saw a lot of feedback. Now, I am not a hearing impaired person and I don't use the app.
Right.
But this lawsuit was specific toward the app. It was not about the bike because there are closed captions on the bike. Also, and this is only from what I read because, again, I do not use the app. I was told there are closed captions on the app.
Interesting.
So I don't know if it's like some classes because I think when Peloton started adding closed caption, they did not go back in their entire library and redo it. It was like going forward.
Yeah, they from this point forward, we're going to do it. And so
gotcha. I don't know if this is a case of it doesn't work on all apps. Like, for example, on the Android app, which is so lacking, maybe there's not.
Right.
Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's that it's the classes that this person was taking, or maybe I was misinformed. All of those could be the case, but I am just reporting what I was told. So,
and they do mention 3 specific classes, the 10-minute arm toning, 10-minute stretching, and 3-minute warm-up.
Do they have dates on those at all? Just curious.
They do not.
Okay. I was just curious. So none of those are new. I mean, let me say, I didn't say that very well. It's not like any of those are like bar classes or brand new things that just showed up. Having said that, I cannot remember when the floor strength started, like as its own thing separate from the bike.
Right.
So I honestly, they had classes whenever I first got the Peloton that were on the floor, but like they've kind of did a new face, like a facelift on that.
Gotcha.
So I don't know, without getting into it and looking, I don't know. I'd have to go look at those specific classes. But even if that's the case, really, we're suing over 3 classes?
Well, that's probably just, those are the easiest ones. They probably, they can't just say in general you don't. I'm sure they have to have some specificity about which classes don't have it.
Well, I guess my point is, wouldn't you list more than 3 if that were the case? And the reason I say that is because back when we had the music publishing thing, they literally listed out like 20,000 songs.
Okay, but the lawyers are incentivized to list as many artists and infractions as possible, where I think in this case it's not so much, right? Like
Okay.
in the music thing, if they can list, the potential financial gains are radically different if there are 2 artists whose songs got used inappropriately versus if there are 200 artists whose songs who were used inappropriately. So
Okay.
so also I guess if you hit 3 classes and they're not working, how much longer are you going to dig around in there?
I don't know. I just, I think back objectively when we talked to Kristen Fleschner, who is, she's blind,
Right.
and she talked to us about how Peloton can help, how they could be more accessible. And of course, she was looking at it from the standpoint of all accessibility, no matter what kind of impairment you had.
Right.
And she talked a lot about the fact that they didn't have settings on their Android tablet that would make it easier for people who were vision impaired.
Okay.
Now, the reason I say that is because they had closed captioning before they turned those settings on. And I would think it is so much easier to follow a class through sound. No, I'm not saying that right. Like to find a class, choose a class, etc. That would be so much easier to do if you could see, but you couldn't hear.
Right.
And so I would think there are options, because you can even, I think you can turn closed captions on and off. I know you can do that on the
Right.
bike. Maybe you can't do that on the app. My point being that I'm surprised that Peloton has not been sued by the vision impaired community, because it seems like there's so many things that are lacking from a vision standpoint as compared to auditory.
Right.
So I'm just surprised.
I will also point out that none of these classes involve equipment.
Well, and that might be why they focused on the app portion of it.
Right.
That they're not talking about, hey, this is the bike, this is
Right.
the app. And maybe that's because this person is a digital member only.
Right. I also wonder if maybe some of it is Peloton is so focused on getting the class, the tread classes and the bike classes up to speed that they didn't even necessarily think about stretching, tone. You know what I mean? I don't know if they
Good point.
if they
Good
view
point.
those differently internally in some capacity.
No, that's a great point. Again, I don't take classes on the app, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are all good questions.
And then while we're talking about lawsuits,
Mhm.
Mad Dog Athletics.
You remember these guys, right?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I know I'm very familiar with their line of alcohol.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
no, not them.
No.
Okay.
But this is the company that has the copyright, or whatever you call, whatever the accurate word for it is, for the word spin.
Oh, okay.
That's them.
Gotcha.
And when we interviewed Michelle Brookman for Pedal on the Pier, do you remember that they sued them for having the word spin in there, and they had to take it out? And then other people chimed in on our group and talked about how there was the word spin in a Facebook group, and the owner, an owner of Mad Dog, called them on the phone and told them to remove the word from the group.
Wow.
I mean, they have the right, don't get me
Sure.
wrong, but that is,
Yeah, I mean, I think and they probably have to actually be extra vigilant, because spin has become
so popular.
and synonymous to where if it starts to get used as the colloquial expression, you can lose your copyright. For instance,
Oh, gotcha.
so-
like Xerox and the copy.
so Xerox has not lost theirs, but I think was it Linoleum? I think
That started off as a name brand.
Yeah, Linoleum was a brand, and I
Oh.
think that they lost it. But there's been brands over the years who have lost their copyright because it got so, most people won't say tissue, they'll say Kleenex.
Absolutely.
Right. And so they have to be almost extra vigilant, because it's bordering on entering the public domain, because they are so popular and that they just become kind of the default word for it.
Well, there's several interesting things here. One of the interesting things is that this company actually filed for bankruptcy last year. So, like, think about those two sentences. They filed for bankruptcy last year, and spin is the most popular it's ever been.
Right.
So, why did it take them how many years since 2014 for them to claim that Peloton took all of their patents?
So do we know if when they entered bankruptcy, did they change hands?
We do not.
Okay, because this and I'm not saying this is what they're doing, but the article reads to me like kind of a classic patent troll kind of a thing. And so I almost wonder if when they entered bankruptcy, somebody bought them up with the sole purpose
of going after
and suing all these people that are now doing it, saying,
I wonder if they work for Echelon.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, no, I think if that was the case, it would be owned by Echelon. But
okay, that's fair.
But
I was being silly. Anyway.
Yeah, but like there's a big problem with patent trolls in the world, and like there was for a while there was talk that like podcasts might go away because there was somebody that was saying that they invented the quote unquote concept of a podcast, and like their concept of a podcast was like, I'm going to talk on a cassette tape and mail it to somebody. And like they came up. Okay,
they did not come up with that. You know how many people did that in the 1980s?
Yeah, but
that was a thing.
But the company is saying that they did it in the 80s and that this is a version of that. And so they were going around sending all these letters basically saying, send us a bunch of money or we're going to shut you down. And they went after like Mark Maron and Adam Carolla. And I think it was Adam Carolla who was like, you know what? No, I'm going to spend a bunch of money and fight back instead of just
Adam Carolla.
Yeah, instead of just sending you a check. And they ended up winning. Like the podcasters ended up winning, but like this kind of sounds like that because they're like, oh, we had something kind of like this a long time ago before it was really possible, and so pay us. And so I don't know. That's kind of where as I was reading this, that's kind of how it read to me. But
well, we will keep an eye on it. We have a patent attorney in our group who is going to keep tabs on this, dig into this a little deeper, and let us know what's going on.
New content.
So there were two big announcements this week in regards to new classes.
There was.
We now have Pilates.
Yeah, and so this was actually brought up by that Bob Tremer guy on Twitter.
Yes.
He did something on the back end of Peloton, and
he goes and looks under the hood and checks their oil.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know what magic he does, but he saw Pilates had been added and he mentioned that. And then before we could talk about it, here it is.
Ta-da.
So the Pilates dropped today. There were 20 new classes that dropped. They're all on demand. We have 4 different instructors. So there's Hannah Corbin. There's Sam Yo. That's interesting, I thought, because he's from the UK. And then we have Kristen McGee and Aditi Shah. So they are the beginning instructors. There was in the email that came out after that, it said there were going to be more instructors added. So I assume more content is definitely coming. That is important to note because bar classes were dropped as a, like, what do you call it when you try something out?
Trial? Experiment?
Close enough. So they tried it as to see what kind of feedback they got from people.
Yeah.
And when they did, they had only dropped the 10 classes. No more have been dropped. And it's been like 6 months. So they're planning on bringing them back in March. So more bar classes will be dropping in March. But I got the impression from the email, it's not going to be that long for Pilates. Like there's more coming on a quicker basis.
Gotcha.
You know, Pilates is the thing that, like, when you're doing Pilates, you don't need an hour-long class. Like, it's hitting all of your core, and like it's not like you need an hour class to do your core. And also, I just want to mention for anybody out there, this does not require equipment. There's Pilates that you can do like with a Pilates reformer, not necessary. These are all without equipment, just like the bar classes.
Oh, okay.
So that's important for people who might be wondering about that.
Yeah. And then while we're talking about new classes, they launched a prenatal program.
So they have not officially launched it. I believe they're officially launching it on Friday.
Okay.
However, this email or this article came out because there are going to be episodes hitting YouTube first.
Oh, interesting.
And so Robin, of course, is pregnant. Big news, first
Yes.
instructor. And she is going to be doing a full prenatal and once she has her baby, postnatal program. But these are kind of done in a docu-series type of thing for YouTube. But there will also be classes on Peloton. Somebody said it was going to be Friday. When I read through here, I did not see that other than they were dropping on YouTube on Friday. So
Gotcha.
I didn't get time to dig into this as much as I wanted. There was a lot going on today.
There was. That's
but
interesting that they're launching them on YouTube.
I thought so too. I think it might be because it's more of a docuseries. Also, Robin has been doing, her own YouTube show, her own IG show. There's a whole bunch of things that she's been doing. So I don't know if that's why. I don't know if it's because it's time sensitive. I mean, she's going to have her baby soon.
Right. Totally.
So I'm not really clear what that's about.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling we'll find out later.
Well, it also seems like a great way to get in front of a different audience.
True.
And maybe get people to sample Peloton if they don't want to pull the trigger on the app, but there's these classes over there. They can check it out and then maybe go, oh, okay, you got me.
That's a good point.
You know?
I have no idea.
New instructors.
So this has been rumored for a while, but we finally get the confirmation about new instructors.
Yes, new instructors for Germany specifically. Now, we knew about Cliff. We had figured that one out.
Right.
However, we did not have, I believe it's pronounced Myla. Do you have the Myla, Mayla? So brand new instructors. They just dropped classes in Germany. It's German classes. I am being told that I think Cliff's classes more people have seen. I'm getting comments about those.
Okay.
I don't know if it's like how they dropped them, but apparently his English is perfect based on what people have seen. So there's been questions like, was he born in Germany? Was he born in America?
Right.
Is he German, or is he like some other? He just learned English at an early age. Just curious about that.
Yeah.
Regardless, we welcome them to the
We will comb them.
to the Peloton family.
You didn't know I spoke fluent German,
I did
you?
not.
I do.
I did not.
I'm full of surprises.
You are. And the other thing is that this is interesting because we also know that Bradley Rose is coming on board soon.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. That Bob Tremore kind of broke that story.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about it last week.
Right.
So, so it'd been almost 2 weeks ago now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've seen conflicting reports about whether or not he's going to be teaching for the UK and the US, because he is from the UK, but he teaches in the US. So this will be interesting. But, for people out there who are kind of feeling like, oh, this is frustrating that they're adding all these German classes because they're not all converted, translated to English.
Right.
Keep in mind that we have thousands of classes more to choose from than they do German classes.
Not everything's for you.
Right. So, we'll see, but very cool that they are added. And I can't wait to get a chance to experience those classes. I know I've really enjoyed taking classes with Irene. She's one of the German instructors, and she is just a little fireball. She's so funny. I love her sense of humor.
Well, if you want to take one of the classes that have not been translated, as you now know, I speak fluent German.
So just ask Tom to take the class with you.
I will stand next to you, and because I wouldn't want to stop you from taking the class.
Sure.
And then I will translate it for you. Just as long as all they say is welcome.
Well, so that's going to be a pretty quick class.
And thank you. They could also say thank you. And then I'd be good.
That's it.
So if there's a class where they only say welcome and thank you.
Auf Wiedersehen, Tom.
There's no need to cuss at me, honey. I don't even know. You're so filthy. Are we going to edit that out?
No.
What?
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jen.
Welcome back to the show. Dr. Jen Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couple Therapy with Dr. Jen, or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jen, or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jen Show. And she's also a 5-year national team member in rhythmic gymnastics and a sports psychology for USA Gymnastics. Dr. Jen. That's a lot.
It is. It is a lot.
I'm like, where do you find time for us?
I love talking Peloton. I always have time for you guys. My obsession. I should be paying you guys.
Wait, we can do that? So the new year is upon us.
It is.
And obviously.
Finally.
Yes. I'm like, I want to say it can't be worse than 2020,
Shut
but like
your mouth.
Yeah, I don't want to issue any challenges to 2021. But
serious.
So, obviously a lot of people make new fitness commitments as the year changes. And we were just wondering what tips you might have for how to start the new year right.
Well, I recommend a few things. First of all, this is something I do. I try to practice what I preach. I spend some time before the new year where I sit down and I look at the different categories of goals, because it's not just fitness. I think if we only make fitness goals, I think that it leaves us very not well balanced. I think it's important to make obviously career or work goals, family goals, relationship goals. Like, I think oftentimes people take for granted, like, oh, my relation's functioning well, I don't need to make any relationship goals. Well, you know what? How could you up your game? Like, how can you be a better partner? How can you communicate better? Like, how can you be better in bed? Like, what can you do to up your game? And I think it's important to look at kind of the different categories of your life and kind of go, okay, let's make some goals. It's also important to make process-oriented goals as opposed to endpoint type of goals. So in other words, like, people tend to, the typical New Year's resolutions, to lose weight. Well, you can't control how your body responds to the choices you make, but what you can control is the choices you make, how often you work out, that you eat fruits and vegetables. And I'm also a bigger fan of saying, this is what I am going to do as opposed to what I'm not going to do. Like, I'm going to try to eat green leafy vegetables every day. I'm going to, replace my coconut oil with olive oil, to do that instead of, I'm not going to eat any sweets, which is not realistic. It's not healthy. It's not well balanced. It's going to leave you feeling deprived and you're probably going to binge in the end. So making sure that your goals are not extreme, making sure that they're realistic. I like small, manageable goals, because what happens when you make small, manageable goals is that you achieve them and then you build on them. And it changes your perception of yourself. If you're someone who hasn't succeeded in the past, if you say, you know what, I'm going to do a 10-minute Peloton class 3 days a week, you're probably going to achieve that. And you also have built in, okay, I was planning to do it Monday, but there was a crisis at the office and I had to work on this project, so I'm going to be able to do it Tuesday. It gives you a little leeway. So focusing on the process over the outcome, small manageable goals, and also have your goals be adjustable. So it's not like, I'm going to work out 7 days a week. Instead, it's, I'm going to do 3 days, and then I'm going to evaluate after I've done 3 days a week for 3 months, then I'm going to see what I can build on. So I'm a big fan of buildable goals. I think it's really
that
the
step.
way.
I like that step.
Yeah.
I hear a lot about SMART goals, and I never hear about adjustments. So that's great. That's really great.
It's really important to be able to adjust, to be able to say, that wasn't realistic. And instead of saying I'm a failure or like I can't meet my goals, saying, you know what, I'm going to adjust that goal so that I can make it more realistic for the reality of how my life has changed in a pandemic, or how my career has changed, or how my kids' needs have changed now that they're home doing Zoom school. So, those are really big factors. I also really like for people to create a mantra for the new year. And I create a mantra every year and I put it up on my office bulletin board. I both like my home office when I was at my regular office before the pandemic. I had it there. I also keep a paper planner. I put it in my planner. I try to keep it someplace where I can see. And it's whatever the mantra is, it should be something that helps you to think differently. It should be something that looks at what your biggest challenges have been in terms of your thinking patterns and helps you to shift them. And also even gives you a script to some degree on how to respond to yourself. Like, let's say you're someone who says, I can't do it. Like, that you're negative on yourself. What you want to do is make a goal that says, like, I just say, I'm going to be more positive. That's way too vague. To say something like, I'm going to, every time I say something negative to myself, I'm going to come back with 3 positive statements in order to kind of inoculate that negative statement. And you may want to put in your mantra what 3 examples might be of that, just so that you have it visually and you see it on a regular basis. You want to put this where you can see it on a day-to-day basis, because basically we're retraining our brain. And I think that we don't think about our brains as trainable as our bodies are. If you're someone who listens to this podcast, you're obviously someone who is athletic, you're into Peloton, or you're into tonal, you're into fitness, you're into bettering yourself in some way. But a lot of the time we don't think of our brains as trainable. And we have a lot of negative thinking habits from our childhoods, our crappy teachers that we've had, our coaches who were critical, our grandparents, the bullies at school, whoever it is that gave you a lot of negative feedback that we've internalized. But it's up to us to train our brain to think differently. And when it comes to a new year and new resolutions and new goal setting, this is an important part of that as well.
Yeah, I think it's really smart too, when you were saying about the negative positive, to have some positive things kind of locked and loaded, because when you get in that negative mindset, it's pretty hard to think of positive things. I don't want to name any names because I would hate to embarrass Crystal, but But you get in that spiral, and so to have them at the ready, and be like, oh yeah, here are some things.
It's so funny because you point that out to me all the time, and I don't catch it in myself. But then I see Brian do that.
Yeah.
My stepson who's 16, and I'll be like, oh, you're in a negative spiral. It's so much easier for me to see it when he does it. But it reminds me to work on it for myself. So I think that's a great idea as well.
Totally, and it's even like I am someone who can get very overwhelmed by new technology. I'm probably one of the only people you'll meet who I don't like a new phone. I don't like a new computer. I don't like a new car.
You're easy to shop for.
What was that?
I said you're easy to shop for.
I'm easy to shop for. Yeah, just not new technology. So for me, that was one of the things that I really did kind of a deep dive. I was like, that's holding me back. So for one of my mantras had to do with that, and was like, you know what, anytime I'm faced with new technology, my response would be, I can't wait to learn that. I'm so excited to learn how to do that. So instead of that fear response, I can't do that, this is going to stop me, I can't move forward on that. Instead, my response became, great, I can't wait to learn that.
Wow.
Awesome. I'm going to conquer that. And just having it up on my bulletin board, seeing it every day, really changed how I responded to it, which had a very positive trickle-down effect.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You should do this for a living.
I might try that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Until next time, where can people find you?
On social media at Dr. Jen Man, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man.
Well, this is where we would normally talk to John Mills. Unfortunately, we fired him. No, we didn't fire him.
Never.
No.
There's no firing when you're not getting paid.
Touche.
Can you fire somebody that volunteers to talk to you?
A valid point. No, we had to move around our recording time, and it didn't meet up with his, and so we did not get to meet up this week. So no John Mills this week, but do not fear, he will return when we return after the first of the year. So
yes, definitely.
But something we were going to talk to him about is some stuff that he put on his Facebook group, Run Lift Live.
Yeah.
Talking about how Echelon launched a new high-end bike, which is a bit of a head scratcher.
Yeah, because, Peloton was here first, obviously. Echelon came around and said, you don't need to pay all that money for
Right.
that bike. Like that's their big thing is how
Yeah.
expensive Peloton is. And I know you guys are asking, well, how much is this bike? It's $2,000. Like it's $2,039.98. And I don't know why it's such a weird number, but it is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even start shipping until December 28th, but they're kind of trying to make it like, well, if you can't get a Peloton until February, this is your deal. Like this is better for Christmas,
Yeah.
but it doesn't start shipping till the
So,
end.
but you still won't have a bike to open on Christmas.
Yeah, but I guess it's sooner.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe I don't know what they're thinking. I don't understand Echelon.
Yeah.
So it has a rotating 22-inch screen, a center audio jack, front-facing speakers, dual power ports in the front and the back, cranks and bearings that are competition level, gel comfort seat, a coated metal water bottle holder, and okay, that's all for the features.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm reading John's notes, so
Yeah.
I was making sure I was understanding them correctly. So it has a lot of features.
Right.
I feel like it's kind of a bait and switch. I feel like everything they do just is very inconsistent.
Yeah.
Well, don't buy a Peloton, buy Echelon because we're cheaper, but we're going to go ahead and come out with this expensive
Right.
bike so that it does all the same things that Peloton does. So wait, what are we doing?
I don't get who would go this route, but I guess someone must be.
Clearly, there's a lot of people in John's group, the Run Lift Live group, that are saying things like Jackie Sincata she mentions this a lot. She knows people specifically that have canceled their Peloton orders because they're taking too long and they're buying Echelons.
Yeah. Well, I guess when you decide to finally break down and get the Peloton, you will have spent less money on an Echelon. It's an easier bike to throw away.
It is.
But yeah.
And you can still use the Peloton content on
Totally.
it. Especially those cheap ones, they are cheap. They're cheaply made. Like you can see how they're shaking
Right.
back and forth. I have no idea what this one will be. Who knows? But when you're paying $400 for something, and that's their selling point, how cheap they are.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I don't get this. I don't get what they're trying to do. So
Yeah,
I don't know.
it'd be like if Hyundai was trying to go after the Lexus market.
Yeah.
I'm just like, but that's not what Hyundai does. Like,
Right.
But
I feel like they're kind of scattered. I feel like 8 people are running that company.
yeah,
And they're all just like, go, go, go. There's like no cohesive movement. It drives me as a project manager. It drives me insane. Can you imagine what their project plans must look like? They must be chaos. There's nobody in control over there.
one would think. And then John also talked about how I guess Apple Fitness Plus.
Oh my God, it launched on Monday. So that's a whole thing we're going to get more into later, but go ahead.
But so they are partnering up with Schwinn.
Yes.
For their indoor cycling brand.
Yes.
Which is owned by Nautilus.
Correct. So when you say partnering up, I'm going to be very specific. The way it works is when you go to the Apple Fitness, it recommends the Schwinn bike. Like it's right in there, like buy here. That's
Gotcha.
what he's saying by partnering.
Okay.
And they do the same thing with a tread. They do tech something. We've talked about that other company before, but like it's their really, really expensive top of the line, like $15,000 tread.
Okay.
So they do the same thing, but to the point, John asked the question. I think it's a fair question. Does this mean that Apple and Nautilus are partnering up against Peloton?
You got to wonder.
You do have to wonder. And then just to tack onto this, I saw this today in John's group. Okay, so Apple is giving free memberships to Apple Fitness if you are part of Lifetime Fitness.
Okay.
So like you're a Lifetime Fitness member, you can now get Apple membership, Apple Fitness Plus membership for free.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Especially like if there's probably a good chance your gym is closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a smart move.
Well, and so I don't know if you want me to go into my feelings on Apple Fitness now, or you want to do that later.
Well, we're going to talk about a review that CNBC did with them a little bit later, so maybe we'll save them.
We'll
for there.
save that.
Yeah.
Then. Okay. Well, those were the I think there's one more John Mills topic. we were going to talk about that Peloton got added last week to the Nasdaq 100
the Nasdaq
index.
100 index, which that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. It's the top 100.
They pick like 100 stocks. I think this is the way I understand it. They pick 100 stock that kind of represent the Nasdaq, and so when they're gauging how the Nasdaq is doing, it's an amalgam of how those 100 stocks are doing. That's like what I believe the S&P 500
It totally is.
Yeah.
I just like all the words just disappeared out of my brain at the same time. I have no idea what happened. But yes, that is exactly what it is. And so that's really cool for Peloton to have been added to that, especially like a year after they started.
And I think it also tells you what the financial industry thinks of Peloton when people are like, it's a fad, it's gonna go away. Like it's when they're added to the Nasdaq 100, that tends to make you think that they don't think it's gonna go away.
Totally agree. And I also thought it was interesting because in general, Peloton has been up really high this week.
Yeah.
So at first they dropped with the whole Apple Fitness introduction, and then they rebounded and they have been like soaring. So I don't know if it's because of all the I actually have no idea, because it's never been better news with COVID. Don't get me wrong. More people than ever are dying. I don't mean that.
Right. But like
with the
we're
vaccines.
seeing progress with the vaccine, and then the Moderna one's about to get approved. So now we'll have 2 vaccines.
Exactly.
It's starting to look like maybe we're turning the
feels like
corner
we're
here.
at the, we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're far from the end, but there's light. So I don't really get what's going on with but I mean, great. It was at 133 today. So it's like, that's insane.
As people who own stock, great.
Woohoo.
We'll take it. Then on a very different note,
switching gears.
we came across this article, what Pornhub and Peloton have in common with Facebook. And anytime it's got porn in the headline, I'm like, let's talk about
Tom's
that.
attention.
Let's talk about that one. Let's talk about the porn one.
And the funny thing is, this was actually on our radar from 2 weeks ago, and somehow we did not talk about it last week.
I blame you.
I'm sure it is my fault. I put the list together, but it wasn't on purpose, because I'm really curious to hear what you think that Peloton and Pornhub have in common.
Well, this article specifically is about what Peloton and Pornhub have in common with Facebook.
Sure.
Which is about like content moderation, about how Facebook is having so much trouble, and that whenever you have user-generated content, because Pornhub has user-generated content, and you can upload stuff, and they recently had
tell me all about how Pornhub works, honey.
I mean, from what I've read, they had to pull a bunch of videos. I mean, they had to yank them. No, maybe not yank. They had to delete them because anyone can upload a video. And so there was a lot of revenge porn. There was underage stuff on there.
Eek.
Not tons, but there was some.
Oh.
And there was like voyeur stuff where it was not fake, but like, and
people
so,
didn't have permission.
Right. So they had to pull a bunch of that stuff. And the Pelotons had their own issues with the user generated content in terms of like the leaderboard names and the hashtags.
Oh,
that people
sure.
use.
Yeah. We know
so it was talking about that sort of stuff, about what it will be like for companies, and why that's something pretty much any company, even if you think you don't need to worry about it,
you need to worry about
it.
You
need to worry about it.
Okay, so it sounds like we've covered that then.
Well, no, so I got to thinking because I thought the article was about what Peloton and Pornhub have in common.
Yeah.
But it didn't do that. So I
You made your own list.
I made my own list.
I can't wait
of
to
what
hear this.
Peloton and Pornhub have in common. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 8 of them. 8 things that Peloton and Pornhub have in common. Are you ready?
Not 69.
No, I just a lot of jokes to write.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the refractory period would be. So coming in at number 8, depending on how you use it, your butt may be sore. Number 7, your results are determined by cadence and resistance. Where was I at? That was 7. Number 6, unless she specifically asks, do not get your wife a subscription. But if you would like one. Number 5, is that where I'm at?
I think so.
Number 5, your floor may get wet.
Oh my.
What? Number 4, it's always fun to see somebody you know.
Does Pornhub have a 5.5?
But you can't get a high 10 because that other hand is occupied.
Oh my.
Number 3, no matter how hard you try, you'll never top the leaderboard. Number 2, it can cause chafing. And finally, number 1, the most in common thing that Pornhub and Peloton have.
Okay.
You do you.
Oh, we need some applause there. Very nice, Tom.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Thank you. Just a little something I
guess
worked on in my spare time.
I guess we should have added hey, parents, get your kids out of the room.
Well, I think as soon as that topic started, they probably
We're like,
yes.
Stop it. Stop.
And then real quick, we saw a story that Peloton is opening another store in the United Kingdom.
They are, yeah. They've actually opened up quite a few, and I keep forgetting to add that, like not UK, but
Right.
adding stores lately because there's been so many. They're over like 100 stores
worldwide
now. So this is going to be in the Bath City Center, and I think that this is opening. Where did it say? When is it going to happen?
It doesn't say in the
it
headline.
doesn't say.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's coming. They don't have a date yet, but it's going to happen.
Oh,
February or March.
February or March.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
And then now we can talk about the Apple Fitness Plus review that CNBC did. Oh, look at that face.
Well, you know what? Here's I have a very open mind. I came into this article with a very open mind, and I was like, okay. So the article says it's just as good as Peloton.
Right.
But if you read the article, it goes on to say it's not. And I guess I just don't understand that. Like, was that for clicks? Was that to drive people like me mad? Like, what are we trying to do here?
Right.
So they talk about price. And so, okay, Peloton, if we're talking digital only, is a little more expensive at $12.99 versus $9.99 for Apple. There are more kinds of classes, more disciplines that you can take, not by much,
right?
But there are a couple. I think at this point it's rowing that stands out that Peloton doesn't have. But where it goes down from there are the things like to see your activity. You have to have an Apple Watch. That's how you're able to kind of track what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
You like how many calories you've burned, what your heart rate is. You got to have an Apple Watch.
Gotcha.
You can still take the class without an Apple Watch, but like it doesn't connect with any of your fitness metrics.
Okay.
So I decided to try a yoga class today because it was my yoga day. And when I took the class, I will say this, the content is fine. It's not amazing.
Right.
It's not awful. It was fine.
There was no peanut butter and jelly.
There was no peanut butter and jelly. I would be the first one to tell you. But I did like about how Apple really slowed down the yoga and told you very carefully how to make the transitions. Peloton goes pretty fast, especially on like their intermediate classes.
Okay.
However, I will also say there is no differentiator on the Apple Fitness to say this is a beginner, this is an intermediate.
Okay. Yeah, that seems like an important piece of
if
information.
you're a person who knows all the moves, that's going to irritate the shit out of you.
Yeah.
Because a 20-minute class, we did like 3 moves. Like that's not very much.
Right.
And it was fine for me. It was fine for me.
Right.
But somebody who's like, they want a serious workout, a serious yoga workout, that's not going to do it. And don't get me wrong, they're going to be able to find it, but like how much time do you have to spend looking for it?
Right.
But I will tell you the biggest thing that irritated me with this, and maybe it will change, I don't know. They do not have the ability to cast this unless you have and Apple TV. I don't mean the Apple TV app.
Right.
That's not good enough. You have to have an actual Apple TV. AirPlay, which is their thing,
Right.
doesn't work. Now, how stupid is that? I can AirPlay so many things, but you can't AirPlay their own app.
Yeah, and I think that's also fascinating for the people that are like, oh, I don't have to buy a bike, but for full functionality, you have to buy a watch and a television.
Or take it on this little tiny screen. I did
Right.
a yoga class on a freaking phone.
Yeah.
Don't do that, guys. Don't do that. It was terrible. It was a
Trying to
terrible
see the screen
experience.
is one of the positions.
Yeah, and the other weird thing about it, this was just blew my mind. It will let you cast the music. The sound will come through my TV, but not the picture.
Wow, that's
what are
really-
we doing?
That's really frustrating.
Yeah,
Because it's like just their way of saying we could if we wanted to,
I know.
but we don't want to.
And I guys, I am not, I don't even hate Apple, but this is the kind of shit that really ticks people like
Yeah.
me off, that especially coming from Android. This is like, you should not have to be so in the Apple zone. Like, don't complain to me about the price of a $2,000 bike when
Right.
you got to buy $1,000 television to be able to see a yoga class.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Ugh. So anyway, I didn't think that it was, like I said, it was fine. I will also say, I've only taken one yoga class. John Mills posted a clip of a preview of a spin class, and it was awful. It was, the
So
guy
it
was
was
like,
peanut butter and
it
jelly.
wasn't quite peanut butter and jelly level, but the cheese factor, there was some heavy cheese. Now, some people are reporting they have taken rowing classes and other classes, and they enjoyed them. They really liked that you could see your metrics on the screen. They had an Apple TV though. So,
Right. Yeah.
you know, but I guess it just depends on your setup.
Yeah.
Anyway, people that think that this is going to be some huge thing for Peloton, I don't think that that's the case. If they leave it the way it is right now, I don't think Peloton has a problem. Now, they make tons and tons of changes. Maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Or try to come out with their own line of equipment.
That's a different story.
Absolutely.
But I don't think that they will, based on the fact that they're pushing people to these other specific equipment. I don't think that that's
I would tend to agree. If they're pushing people towards other equipment, then that says that they do not have any immediate plans to launch a line of equipment.
agreed.
Yeah.
One more thing on this. I just got notice
Mhm.
that John Foley also just sold a bunch of Peloton shares.
Gotcha.
Apparently, it was about 100,000 shares that he sold, which is,
He can finally get that tread out of the bathroom.
if I am reading this correctly, is $12 million.
Yeah.
That's a profit that he made.
Yeah. Go for him, man.
Good for him, indeed.
Yeah. I would read nothing into that. Like,
Oh, no, I think that's a good thing. I think that means that he's very happy with how the stock is doing.
yeah. Well, some people, whenever they hear somebody selling stock, they think it means that like, oh, they're leaving. They're gonna leave and abandon the company. But
Nah.
it's profit taking. Like it was at $135 or $136 today, and it's just like, okay, like honestly, I'm surprised you didn't sell it when it hit $100 or $1.25. So like that, that to me that shows a great deal of restraint.
And
where,
it's the second time it's been up this high, isn't
Yeah.
it? So, like,
yeah, good for him.
absolutely. Congrats.
Checking out the competition.
So Canada's getting their own Peloton version, eh?
Yeah, apparently. Did you see who they're teaming
I
up with?
did. One more reason for you to not like Echelon. It's Spinco, which is Canada's largest spin studio, but for the bike manufacturing, they have partnered up with Echelon.
So now they have a new piece of equipment called Podium. How many pieces of equipment do they need?
They seem stretched very thin.
I agree. Remember when I was saying just like 5 minutes ago, there's like 8
Scattershot.
scattershot.
Yeah.
It's driving me insane. It's either going to be enormously successful of them to do that or enormously bad. I have no idea which, but at any rate, go check it out.
If you're in Canada,
Yeah.
I suppose you can't if you're not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Peloton in the news.
John Foley was featured in the New York Times.
He was.
Took a lot of a lot of ribbing for it.
Oh my God.
He was ribbed for our pleasure.
Jeez.
Sorry, I'm still writing porn jokes.
Okay. You
don't just turn that off.
I feel like that was just another joke.
Yeah.
So this article was one of those like feel good pieces, like how does John Foley spend his Sundays?
Yeah.
And ironically, the tagline is, a year ago, Peloton was the butt of a holiday joke. Not anymore. And then they made one out of him. So here's the thing. He talks about how he spends his days or his Sunday.
His Sundays, yeah.
And people really, really focused on two things that just irritated people, or they found it
like,
I don't even know. It was offensive to people. Like they
just
wanted to tease him.
Like really weird.
Yeah. One of the things is that he has his tread in his downstairs bathroom. So that's the only place that he has for it. So he literally runs in the mornings in his bathroom. And
one of his bathrooms.
One
I'm sure
of
it's
his
not
downstairs
the only bathroom.
And when you see the picture of it, it doesn't look like the bathroom is that ginormous, but it's Manhattan.
Right.
So people are like, he has a downstairs in his apartment.
Right.
And he has a bathroom in Manhattan big enough to put a tread in.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
He's also the CEO and founder of Peloton. So yeah. Yes,
well, maybe
he does.
Maybe he's moving. That's why he cashed in those shares.
He wants a bigger second bathroom.
He's like, I'm tired of everybody talking about my bathroom. But the other thing that people really focused on was how the first thing he does is drink 40 sips of water from his hand at the upstairs bathroom sink. He says, it's efficient. I drink until I feel like I'm going to throw up water every day.
Like,
John, what are we doing?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, we need to get him a water bottle. There were entire articles written about John needing a water bottle. It's too funny.
Well, Peloton has lots. Even I have a Peloton water bottle somewhere. We went to HRI and they handed them out. I'm like, I got a Peloton water bottle now. Like, it's weird to think that I have a Peloton water bottle, but the CEO of the company does not.
I'm sure he has one. He just doesn't use it first thing in the morning.
Apparently not.
Got a thing. I don't know why. I kind of feel bad that he got picked on, though.
And then while we're talking about Peloton in the news.
Yes. This is a great little talking about, again, kind of the life and times. Instructor Sam Yo was in People magazine.
Yes, he was.
So Sam clearly has a fascinating past. I mean, how many people can say that they have both been a Buddhist monk and a Peloton instructor?
I would think that Venn diagram is just a big giant circle.
Well, apparently there's a tiny sliver and Sam Yo is in it.
Yes.
And that's, I think, about it.
Yeah.
So he talks about his entire story of how that occurred. Apparently he was an actor.
Yeah.
Literally was in the middle of a play and was like, I'm gonna go be a Buddhist monk now.
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
And just made a complete life change. And he said it's been one of the best things that ever happened to him. He was really worried about how his family would take it. His parents were so totally supportive. They were actually at his like ceremony where you get officially recognized as a monk. Yeah, I don't know what that is called, but he became one. And he spent 10 months. He was only planning on spending a month or two at the monastery, ended up spending 10 months there.
Wow.
Loved the solitude. Eventually came back and taught classes and eventually was, that's great.
Yeah.
Eventually was tapped by Peloton and here we are.
Yeah. And so if you want to check out that article, one, we're scrolling through pictures of it on our YouTube channel, but you can also get it in our newsletter that goes out. You can subscribe to that at theclipout.com. And it's an article worth checking out. It's a lengthy article. Sometimes those features are like
a blurb,
or like a little
paragraph.
blurb, but not this one, man. I mean, they go in depth. So
yeah, and there's a picture of him in there with Yoda. You need to go there just to see that, if nothing else.
Absolutely. So Tonal introduced guided workouts.
They did. Okay, so this adds a whole nother level of awesomeness to the Tonal, because now as you're doing the workout, it shows you what the strength of your rep was, like the range of motion and
Okay.
the power behind it. So like, let's say you're on the last rep of 10 reps and you're struggling. You'll be able to see the curve go down. Like your power isn't there. Your range of motion isn't necessarily there. Why is this such a big deal? Well, when you can see it, you can very clearly see what you need to change to be able to increase your strength score. So like, let's say you're at 8 pounds for a bicep curl. You're like, oh, I'm not quite getting the range of motion I need on those last 2 reps. That's why I haven't increased my strength hasn't gone up in a while. Well, now you really focus on those last 2 reps, keep all of them above the 80% threshold. Before you know it, you're going to increase your strength. And that's it. It's just a little button and you can see it. And then if you do your own, like your own workouts, you've always been able to see this information, but now they've also added if your strength score goes up while you're doing it, if you, so this is like your own workout you made up. You're going to be able to see when your strength score goes up. You're going to be able to see a PR for your power. Like this is incredible that they made this change. This is huge.
They do such a great job of making the metrics that they're calculating, especially when they're not looking at you.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
It's
all without a camera. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's based on how the handle's moving, and it's pretty fascinating what they can pull off.
It is.
It is Tonal. It's the sleek at home gym. It looks amazing.
It's beautiful.
It's a cool looking device. And you can try Tonal 30 days risk-free. Visit www.tonal.com for $100 off smart accessories when you use promo code TheClipOut at checkout.
That's www.tonal.com, promo code TheClipOut. Tonal, be your strongest.
Peloton announced last week that they have partnered up with Shonda Rhimes.
This is really cool. Another partnership that's just amazing. It's going to be very similar in to the Beyonce in that it's not a one-time thing.
Right.
This is going to be 8 weeks and it's called the Year of Yes. And Shonda Rhimes is kind of the spokesperson for this. There's going to be all these classes that you can take with the instructors over an 8-week period, but all will have the message of say yes, take risks. This is your year. You can do this. So if you happen to be watching our YouTube channel right now, we are showing an Instagram post. And if you are listening, I encourage you to go to the One Peloton Instagram and check out this video with Shonda Rhimes. She talks about how she became enamored with fitness and why Year of Yes happened. It's great to hear her thoughts on that.
And if you're not familiar with Shonda Rhimes, because she's a behind the scenes person, so some people are like, who is Shonda Rhimes?
Totally.
But she created the show Scandal and Grey's Anatomy, right?
I think
her?
so.
Yeah. And she's like the showrunner and creative force behind those shows. I don't know if she's the official showrunner on Grey's anymore, but she still oversees it. And it was her baby for the first 7 or 8 years. And she just signed a gigantic gazillion-dollar deal with Netflix. And so Shonda Rhimes is a big damn deal.
She sure is.
And it's just a lot of times people don't necessarily know the name because she's behind the scenes. She's not one of the stars of the show, but she is the show would not exist were it not for Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah. She's won a bunch of Grammys and stuff too, right?
Emmys,
sorry.
Yeah.
Grammys, Emmys, whatever.
They're all awards we'll never win.
Yeah.
That's
yeah. She, as you said, is a big damn deal. Congrats.
We haven't talked about DJ John Michael in a while.
We haven't. But
he had an interesting Instagram post talking about his lack of hair. Nothing wrong with not having hair, right, honey?
Right, honey. I thought you might identify with this. I thought that you might like to hear his thoughts on it. Okay, so he became bald, lost his hair at an early age.
Okay.
And so he's been wearing baseball caps since that happened. That's just his thing.
Right.
And so he's like,
baseball caps are the Gen X comb over.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. A lot of people do that. And he heard about this guy who uses wigs to create hairstyles for people.
Okay.
And so he decided to give it a try. And then he posted on his Instagram the results of that. And he looks amazing. It looks totally natural.
It does look good. It
I
doesn't-
would not have guessed that was.
Yeah.
And he wanted to be transparent about it. He was like, he's like, obviously, if I go from like
always wearing a baseball hat to suddenly having this amazing hair, people are going to be like, why
What
did you
the
keep that
what?
under a baseball hat for a decade? Like, yeah, totally.
yeah, so good for him for being brave enough to put that thing in, because I don't know what it's like to be a man without hair, but I know if I as a woman didn't I would be a mess, like just a
Well,
mess.
I will say just culturally,
For sure.
it's a lot harder for a woman to lose her hair than it is for a man. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like,
I know, but I still feel bad, because it's like, it's just one of those things you can't control.
yeah, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like, it's, I mean, there are things you can do about it. Most of them don't work. And then, and I wouldn't want to do this just because it looks like a lot of work.
It
to
does look like a
maintain
lot of
and go
work.
have it done. And like, it's, I mean, if he wants to do it, hey, more power to him. Like, but it just personally, I'm just like, I'm too lazy. If I can't imagine if I put all the effort into that, but I won't work out.
I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. I think it's the first time you do it,
Yeah.
and then you just like maintain it and wash it, and I don't think it requires a whole bunch after that. I could be wrong though.
I don't know, man. I've gotten real accustomed to making a bottle of shampoo last 18 months.
That you have.
Like, it's,
Yeah. It's actually pretty adorable.
I'm glad you think that. I'm glad I've suckered you into thinking that. Rebecca Kennedy has announced her 12 days of workout challenge.
I love your little arm movements. Yeah, you look like Popeye the Sailor Man, by the way. Yes, so Rebecca put this together. People had asked her for like some kind of strength program. So
Right.
what she did is she put together 12 days of strength to keep people on track through the holidays.
Gotcha.
So every few days she's posting 3 days at a time. So
Okay.
and then she gives you a workout. So like you're going to see glutes and legs, arms and shoulders, and then dance cardio. That's an example of day 3.
Okay.
Each of them are 20 minutes. So you spend an hour working out. It's nothing like crazy. If you ride the bike, that's not like,
Right.
that's not like something you can't handle.
And then on the last day, you bench press a partridge.
A little tiny partridge.
A little tiny, but how easy will that be though by that point?
Well, I also want to mention that part of that challenge is for people who want to learn how to do handstands. She also has a bonus challenge for beginners and people who have already like mastered handstands. She has workouts that you can add on. So I thought that was pretty cool. You can find all that on her Instagram. So Rebecca Kennedy, it's RK Solid.
And while we're digging around the gram, Emma Lovewell.
Okay, so this video is just amazing. Like the transitions, it's reels. Did you watch this video?
No, I have not. I'm watching it right now.
Like her transitions are freaking on point. I just have to say that. So she did a video because she dropped. She has Live, Learn, Love Well, her company.
Yes.
Her brand. They just did a new drop. So there's a whole bunch of clothing that just dropped, and it all has Love Well on it. But the video is amazing because she's trying it all on, and she did the same dance as she tried on each piece, and it's seamless. Like it looks so expertly done. I'm jealous.
No, it's well done. I wonder how
She's
long
got-
that takes.
I don't know. She's got reels skills.
think there's an app that does that.
Yeah,
I
I
should
think
go
it's
try
called
it.
Instagram Reels, and she got good at it.
I should go try on all the DJ John Michael hair pieces and do the same thing.
That would be amazing. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
4 new family fit classes are dropping each week in December.
Yeah. Perfect timing. And they mentioned this kind of in conjunction. This came later, but whenever they talked about Robin doing her prenatal and postnatal,
Right.
they were like, oh, this is great timing because we're also doing our family fit. So like Peloton is kind of, they're bringing in the whole family at this point. But these classes have been very popular since Just Sim started them over the summer.
Gotcha.
When we had all the COVID,
Yeah.
starting, kids are at home, they're not able to learn. So people have loved them. So her and Kristen McGee have been producing more content.
Probably people using them as PE right now.
Absolutely, they
Yeah.
are, which is great. So it might be fun to do while you're hanging out with your family and not necessarily able to do all the traditional things you do for Christmas this year or whatever holiday you celebrate.
Yes. And then finally, there is a new artist series. I always feel weird saying that, like new artist series, like it's a new artist, but it's an artist series that's new.
Well, this one in particular,
Yeah,
since he's an old artist.
Is definitely not a new artist, but they have an artist series with Elvis Presley.
Yes.
I know that's very exciting for some people. I am not an Elvis guy.
I'm not really
but-
either. Like, I don't dislike him. I just don't love him.
I kind of dislike him.
I know you do. You told me.
Like I'm just not
told me you're-
yeah, like I mean, I get it objectively, especially like with where music was at when he started. There wasn't really anything like that
Mhm.
from white people. And so like I get how groundbreaking he was for the genre, but like it just doesn't resonate with me at all. There's like 2 Elvis songs where I'm just like, yeah, that's a good that like, yeah, I dig that. And then the rest of them just like, eh. So, but I know people love them.
Absolutely.
And-
And I think it's great that they're this is another example of how Peloton is like so well rounded
Absolutely
in
it
their
is.
artist series.
Absolutely it
So
is.
even though it's not my thing, great. Like
Yeah.
I'm glad they shouldn't all be my thing. Like,
Yeah.
just like with the clothes, it shouldn't be something I love every time. It should be things that different people love because you want to hit somebody different in your audience each time. Like that's the idea.
And it shows you how, like, when somebody tries something to emulate Peloton and they just barely they'll miss the mark by just a smidge, but it feels like a mile, right? It's not peanut butter and jelly that it should have been.
Oh dear.
It was peanut butter and banana.
They were so close.
So close. So close. They just, oh man, they had just, So, but anyway, I do think it's cool that they're doing that. This
do
is
too.
the oldest artist that they featured, right?
It is. Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
when did the Grateful Dead start?
Oh, that's
they
the
were
60s.
So, but I know Elvis was in the 60s, but he started in
the
50s.
yeah.
So yes, he is the oldest artist.
Right. So, I mean, I guess pretty much all we got left now is like a Scott Joplin artist series or a Mozart or something.
I really thought I was going to hear the monkeys come out of your mouth, but
Well, I was trying to think older than Elvis.
than that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If they do like a Scott Joplin one, they should sell you a Peloton where there's like a big giant wheel on the front of the bike. So you look like one of those things. So anyway, if you dig the Elvis, you should just reach out to Peloton and say thank you.
And you know,
Thank you very much.
Peloton personnel.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Monica Ruiz. And if you don't recognize that name, you will definitely recognize that face as a Peloton user. It's, I guess you're colloquially referred to, I can say that word in my head, just not out loud.
I thought you did pretty well.
Thank you. As the Peloton wife. Ta-da. Hi, Monica.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for doing this.
Yes, thank you so
we're
much.
We're very excited. So it's been almost a year to the day, I think.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that it was like literally like to the day until my sister texted me today. Like, look, someone tweeted 1 year ago this week, we were making fun of this woman. What did she know? Or something like that. And I was like, oh my God, it's been a week. It's been a year. Like exactly. So funny.
That's why I was like sweating getting this interview done. I was like, oh man, she's gonna keep pushing it off until it's like past the date, and then she's gonna forget about it. No.
I feel like this has made me like so much flakier. It's like I'm in pajamas all day. I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you're just like not on the ball anymore.
The COVID has changed the world. Like there's no doubt about that.
I know.
I feel like we should say for the people watching the video on our YouTube channel, if they're curious, Monica is in her car because it's quiet.
Yes.
She's not homeless. Don't fear for her. Everything's okay.
And she's not driving.
Everything's all right.
Yes.
Everything's all right. My house just happens to have a lot of like, there's really nowhere to go where my kids won't try to figure out where I am. If they know that they don't see me moving in and out of different rooms while they're like hanging out, they'll try to find me and they will make noise. So I was like, you know what? Let's just play it safe.
How old are your kids?
2 and 4.
Two
so
and
I have
four.
a 2-year-old who's napping right now, and he'll be up, in the next probably 30 to 45 minutes, and then a 4-year-old.
Wow, that is a handful.
Well, and that says a lot. Like, so you have a 2-year-old, which if math is not my strong suit, but that would mean this time last year that child would have been 1. Did I do that properly?
You did.
Okay.
You did.
So
You did.
So you were, and I'm assuming there's a lead time on the production of that commercial. So you're doing a fitness commercial inside a year of having had a baby?
That's not fair.
Right. I was really worried about it too, because when it all kind of moved pretty quickly as far as like the audition and the callback and the booking and then the shooting, and I was like, I don't know if I'm in the kind of shape to get like my butt kicked on set, because everyone kept warning me, like, when they shoot these commercials, they like kick your butt. Like, it's not like just for show. They don't just like make you look sweaty. They like really make you work out. And I was like, oh no. Because I was just like easing back into working out, you know?
Oh my gosh. That's interesting. I had no idea that was the case. I mean, and you know, for the rest of us who've never, you know, recorded commercials, like how long does that process take? It's not like one take. It's like they're doing it over and over, right?
Yeah. And that one, we shot that one over the course of, I was there in Vancouver for a week, and they were shooting multiple spots at once. So I didn't really know what the spot was going to end up being. I actually thought that it was going to be like, here are some like vignettes of like this woman working out and this guy working out and like, you know, things like that. I didn't realize it was just going to be a commercial that was like very centered on like this story of this woman who received the bike. And I was like, oh, when it came out, I was like, wow, that was just all about me, huh? Like my face, you know?
And so for about 45 minutes, you thought that was a good thing. And then the internet got a hold of it.
Oh my God. And it was funny because it came on during every single commercial break for everything. It was on like during sports. It was on during streaming. It was on during Bravo shows. It was literally every single person in the world who turns on a TV or a device to stream something saw it. So I think that's what made it so easy to talk about, because everyone had seen it. It wasn't like the majority of people knew what it was. You know, when people started joking about it, they were like, oh, yes, I've seen that commercial too many times.
Okay, so what kind of timeline was there from the moment that like the commercial's done and then it goes viral? Or how long from when you finished filming it to when it like actually went viral? Because there was a gap.
I think it started. Okay, I think we shot it in like September or October, something like that, and then it aired in November, like late November.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
because that's usually when they start the Christmas commercials, and then within like it had been running for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it was just this huge explosion, and I'm like, what's going on? This commercial's been out. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, why is everybody just now starting to?
That's what we thought too.
We did the same thing. So we talk about Peloton every week, and so when the commercial came out, like there was a little bit of chatter in the Peloton world about that mirrored what would become the national conversation about like, did he just buy that bike for his wife without asking?
Yeah, but it was really more of a joke.
Yeah,
you know?
And like I remember at the time, like you were sticking up for the commercial, and I was like, they probably should have had a line in there, and then that was it. And there was like 2 or 3 weeks of nothing, and then all of a sudden,
kaboom! What was it like when you woke up that day?
There was oh gosh, I was like bringing my son to school, and my phone, it's just like this guy that I used to know, because I used to bartend, and there was like a guy who bartended at a different place. He messaged me on Facebook, and I deleted my Facebook since then, but I had it at the time. And he goes, "Good morning, America," or somebody tweeted, "Who is the Peloton woman?" And I tweeted back at Good Morning America, "I know her. She's Monica Ruiz." And I'm like, no, why did you tell them? I was really hoping it would just go away. I'm like, everyone's going to get over this. They're just going to laugh about it for a day or two, and then we'll be moving on to something else. So I was just like kind of sitting tight and waiting for everyone to just kind of move past it. But that didn't really happen as quickly as I thought it would. But my phone just kept ringing and ringing and ringing. And it was like, my agent was like, all of these people want to have an interview. And I'm like, but up to talk about what?
Right.
And I personally was like, if I don't read comments and I don't read the things that are said, then I'm like kind of protecting myself. It was almost like when I opened my phone, it was like an explosion. And when I didn't look at my phone, everything was normal and calm, you know, like life was completely normal. So it was a strange time.
Wow. So it's like peeking into a whirlwind every time you picked up your phone.
Right. I mean, like I was telling my friends the other day that I was at Denny's with my kids, and there was only one waitress on at the time. And I used to waitress. So I'm looking and I'm like, oh, she's the only person here. So she's bussing and she's having to do everything. So my kids are making a mess. So I'm cleaning up food, like literally off the floor, so that she didn't have to do it. And my phone is ringing and it's my agent going like, Ryan Reynolds wants to know if you want to do the Today Show. And I'm like, I'm cleaning the floor at Denny's right now. Can you just give me a second? It was like this crazy, like opposite worlds. I'm like, my phone is like in a different world than I am.
Were you like, oh, you should have been like, I will do GMA, but only if I'm in Deadpool 3.
Here is the rule. And I did. It's so funny. But I ended, that was the only interview that I did. And I ended up doing that because at that point, so many people had kind of made up their own stories about what my response and were kind of like giving like fake interview like articles, like as if I had talked to anyone. And I'm like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do it. And I'll do it because he's going on and they'll be more focused on him. So I know that they'll just, speak to me briefly and then move on to him.
Well, and who can say no to America's sweetheart, Ryan Reynolds?
Right?
Everyone, when I came back home and everyone was like, what did he smell like? I'm like, smell? I can't believe how many people, you would be shocked how many men and women asked me what he smelled like. I was like, what?
Oh my God. If you would have given me a list of questions, like any guess in the world of what people asked, that never would have crossed my mind.
It was the funniest thing. I was like, well, I think I was having a stroke. So burnt toast. I don't know. What is the smell that you smell when you're like so nervous?
He smelled like Blake Lively.
Any smell.
Isn't that his wife?
What is her perfume? That's what it smelled like. I don't remember any smell at all. So it's probably a good thing.
Yes. Anytime a woman walks away from me and doesn't remember a smell, I chalk that up as a win.
That's a good,
yeah. I would have to agree with that.
Yeah, I would rather no remembrance of, even if they remembered a good smell, it's not worth rolling the dice. I'll take.
You don't want to smell to be something that people take away from the conversation.
You don't. You never want that. Yeah. Okay, but speaking of Ryan Reynolds, how did the commercial with him come to be, like his company? How did that all happen?
Well, they contacted my agent. At first, my agent was like, I don't know what's going on. This is weird. Like she even was sort of like thinking like, let's just let this go away too. And because we didn't know, it's not like I had like a publicist or someone who knew how to handle this kind of thing.
Right.
All of these sorts of inquiries. She's just my commercial agent. And so she was just sort of like, just don't talk to anybody yet. Like, let's see what happens. Let's see if this figures out. And then when they contacted her about the gin idea, she called me and she said Aviation Gin. And I thought she said Aviation Gym, like a local gym in Redondo Beach. And I was like, Aviation Gym, is that going to be like a local commercial? What is that for? And she was like, you've never heard of them? They have like really funny commercials. And I was like, no. And she must have thought I was crazy because I of course I had heard of them. I just heard her wrong when she said it. And then when she came back to me with the idea, I was like, oh, gin, I get it. And so they gave me the idea. And then I got really worried because I thought, I don't want to do anything that's like going to be perceived as making fun of Peloton or the commercial. Everyone was so nice. It was just like, I don't know. I don't want them to think I'm making fun of them, right?
Sure.
So
I went back and forth.
Did they have to like retool it?
Yes.
Did they have to retool it? Was that kind of a little bit of an element, or was that never really an issue?
I think what it was I was really concerned about, because when you shoot something like that and you've got funny people writing these commercials, they want to try different stuff.
Yeah.
They want to say, how about say this? How about do this? And then you just don't know what's going to end up in the end. Yeah. Right. And so I'm always game for stuff. But in this particular situation, I was like, I really want to make sure that they understand that we're just playing along with this whole like craziness,
right?
And that we're not taking a jab at you or joining this negative conversation. So I was a little nervous about it, to be completely honest. I was really, really nervous about how it was going to be perceived, but they were so nice and they were like, no, we don't want to like make fun of them. It's not about that. It's about just taking some of the air out of this because it's so wild right now.
Yeah.
And it was.
And I remember when the Aviation Gin commercial came out, because my first thought was, I know how Ryan Reynolds can be, and he's very funny, and that's not a compliment I hand out lightly.
That's true.
But I was like, oh, this could be really skewering, and I was just like, oh, it was actually kind of sweet.
I thought so.
Right.
I loved the way it came across because it brought you into the conversation in a different way, and it was kind of like laughing back at all the people who got so upset. Like not like me even making fun of them, but just kind of like everybody got to be in on the same joke at the same time. It leveled.
Right. And I even contacted the guy that played my husband in the commercial and let him know, like I gave him a heads up because I was like, I just want to make sure that you know that this is not in any way like trying to make fun of you. And he was so like, no, go for it. I'm having so much fun with this. Like he was taking all the interviews and he was having so much fun. So he was like, best wishes, do whatever you want. And so he was such a good sport too. Even though he got like a lot more backlash than I did as far as I saw. Anyway.
Totally.
I tried to avoid reading a lot of it.
Yeah. With the kind of the public interpretation of the spot, you're the victim. He's the D-bag. So,
Right.
And again,
Right.
you're actors.
Right.
Like these aren't
Yes.
documentaries. Like,
He's
but
a teacher. He's like a school teacher. He teaches PE in Canada and it's like the nicest person ever. And I was like, this is crazy.
That is crazy.
I don't think Canada has mean people, do they? Everybody in Canada is.
I have never in my life met someone who wasn't the nicest person I've ever met.
They're
in Canada.
always not nice, and they're always telling you they're sorry. Like
So nice.
So in general, though, do you feel like obviously you were kind of trying to avoid everything, but did the attention itself bother you? Did the reaction bother you, or were
It did. It bothered me because I wasn't really a part of like the conversation, and I didn't really want to be. Do you know what I mean? Because I totally respected the fact that some people were kind of triggered by the whole thing. If you saw it one way and you were triggered by it, I didn't want to be dismissive of that. You know what I mean? So I was sort of like, well, I'm just not going to, I was just the actor in the commercial. I didn't write it. I didn't have any, and another thing is that there were a lot of things that were left out of that commercial because they have to cut it down to 30 seconds. So they're, like you said, maybe if they would have put in a couple of lines or scenes that would have clarified things a little bit better, maybe this never even would have happened. But who knows? But I felt like all the attention I'm getting is because people want to know what side I'm on,
Right.
And I was sort of like, I just want to work. I just don't want to, I don't want to, you know what I mean?
Totally.
I don't want to.
you're like, I'm on the side of my own paycheck.
Right.
I'm like, I don't want to be only remembered for this. Like, this is kind of, I think a lot of people probably would have really liked the opportunity to get the spotlight, but I was not ready for it. I've been doing commercials for so long, and that was completely unexpected. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know at all how to handle it.
I feel like you don't see that happen with commercials as frequently as you used to, because there's so many more places to see a commercial these days. Where it used to be, there's one of 3 networks, and you make a creative spot, like all of a sudden Mean Joe Green, because I'm 100 years old. I'm going to reference that spot, but that all of a sudden that's what everybody's talking about.
I have no idea what that is.
That's where he throws the kid a jersey. Like the kid follows him and he's like had a bad game and he gives him a Coke.
I got nothing.
Oh my God.
How about like where's the beef?
Okay. That's still old.
That's more my speed.
But
It is totally old.
I think it's like 10 years newer than the one I just cited. So
well, that makes sense for our age difference.
I know. Like
She's like, I don't know either.
You're
of
lucky
these.
I wasn't like, doesn't everybody remember that Brill Cream commercial? But, so did I hear you right? Like you only did one interview surrounding this, and it was for Good Morning America?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it was the Today Show.
The Today Show. Sorry.
Yeah.
Today Show.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible.
And I honestly, that was the only one I did because I knew that Ryan Reynolds was going to be there the exact same time promoting his new movie that was premiering like that week or something like that. And so I just thought like, that'll be safe. I'll go and they'll just talk to me quickly and then they'll move on to him,
Right.
So.
Wow. I feel very honored now.
Yeah.
That you did our little dog and pony show. How about that?
I know, because then once you guys reached out, I was like, now that I have a bike and I love it and I like can totally relate to all of the people in the community. I'm like, well, this is a good place to talk about it because these are all people that are interested in it. I think that was another thing too, is that with the idea of the commercial, it really touched on a lot of things that people who already had bikes felt.
Yes.
So I think that was where it kind of missed the boat a little bit, or missed the mark a little bit with some people, was that they were trying to sell it to people that don't already have a bike. But it was really, the idea of the commercial was really sold on the people who have one. They were all reaching out to me going, this is my story.
Yes.
This is exactly my story.
We had this exact conversation on the show.
Yeah.
Like that's because that is exactly how I felt. I mean, it's just literally we get on here and talk about Peloton every week.
Right.
So I document everything I do for Peloton.
Yeah.
It's funny too, now that with all the stuff going on with COVID, if you go on Twitter, because I'll go on Twitter and look for Peloton just for interesting articles or comments or maybe guests, and I swear to God, at least once a day there's somebody that makes a variation on the joke of that Peloton wife was right.
I know. It's so funny. What did she know? And What did she tell us? What was she trying to tell us all?
Yes. She can see the future. So was there a moment when you felt like a definitive line in the sand where you were like, the nation has moved on and my life has returned to normal? Or did it just kind of slowly
It kind of slowly. I think once I did the interview and I kind of was like, it was my face. I blamed it on my face. And I was just like, let's just end this here. I think everyone kind of lost interest because for a really long time, it felt like a long time, but for that period of time where I didn't really say anything, there were a lot of people saying like, leave her alone and kind of defending me as if I were like crying somewhere. And I was like, I'm just waiting for this to go away. I was fine. I think that once people realized that I was like not that upset about it and that it wasn't going to be that much drama involved in like the story behind the actor in the commercial, I think people lost interest, That
makes sense.
It does.
So here's probably the most important question, or at least I would think ultimately the most important question to you.
Oh dear.
That you would have is, were you able to leverage this professionally?
Oh, that's a great question. I wasn't sure, Tom. I was worried.
I'm a loose cannon. You never know what's going to come out of my mouth.
It's I want to say it's hard to say because with 2020, the way that it's been with work, So I think about that all the time because certain things came to us, like offers came, but they were all having to do with the commercial. Like, oh, we want to do this and it's going to be a play on this. And I'm like, no, I don't want to.
You can only go to that well so many times. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then The Bold and the Beautiful, which was a show that I watched growing up for many years. Like my husband makes fun of me to this day because it was always on the DVR and I would come home and I'd watch it quickly because it's like when you fast forward the commercials, I think the show is like not even 20 minutes long.
What?
Right. Yeah. It's so short. And so I've been watching it since I was in high school and they reached out to me. They like DM'd me. One of the producers was at a like holiday party and they were like, let's ask the Peloton woman if she'll be on the show. And they just DM'd me and I responded. I go, what? I was so excited because it was like, oh my God, The Bold and the Beautiful. I like didn't even check with my agent. I was like, yes, I'll do it. And I thought, and that was more for me and my family. My mom and my sisters were like so thrilled. Like, oh my God, you're going to meet. And they were like using the characters' names, not the actors' names. So I went to do that. And it was just supposed to be like, I thought it was supposed to just be one episode. It turned into 20 or something like that. Nice. So that was fun. That was a really like awesome thing that I got to do. I was a doctor and I was delivering terrible news. But it was,
times. So when you get a DM from them, how do you know that that's real? How do you know it's not just some schlub on Instagram like, want to come over to my house and be on The Bold and the Beautiful?
I saw the thing. I saw the name. I looked at his page. I looked at his credentials, like who was following him, who he was following. I also like Googled his name to make sure. And it wasn't, just to double check.
Totally.
Good.
Yeah.
Plenty of people that I'm sure would be like.
I've heard with COVID, it's getting so hard to film these shows. They've actually changed The Bold and the Beautiful. It's now the italicized and the Beautiful. Is that true? Can you confirm that? No. So
the underlined and the
right.
Yeah, no, it was kind of crazy though. Like we had to halt the production back in March. And when we went back, we were one of the first productions to go back. So it was like everyone was kind of watching to see what was going to happen.
Sure.
So it was so crazy in the beginning because they didn't even want more than like 3 actors on the set at one time because they wanted to keep 6 feet distance. So when you were doing a scene, they would give you like a dummy for your eye line.
Wow.
And it was crazy. Like some of the actors have their real husbands and wives coming in still to do like, you know, any sort of kissing scenes or anything.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't even think about that. They
were using mannequins and dummies, and they got really creative. And the camera, they did a really good job, actually. Very, very good job. But it was kind of hard too, because I was like, there's no head on that dummy. Like, where are its eyes?
It's hard to make eye contact with no head.
Right.
So now that you're on the other side of it, if you had to do it all over again, would you?
I think so. Yeah. Because I think I kind of tried to not get too involved in all like the craziness that went on, but it was just like one of those things that happens in your life that's such a thrill for your family and your friends who know you that it was really fun to see them really enjoying it. You know what I mean?
Totally.
I felt like it was one of those things where it was like, I know her. No, you know her. And then there were moms at my son's preschool that were coming up to me going, you look exactly like this woman in this commercial for Peloton.
They didn't know it was you?
Did not know. I had to tell people that was me. And they were like, what? Like it was so funny. And then people were like sending me messages. I'm so sorry. People are being so mean. I'm like, don't tell me what they're saying because I'm not reading it. People were like trying to comfort me. I was like, I'm okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but don't tell me.
But leave it that way.
So wait, to this day, you've never read any of the crazy stuff?
I saw a few things. But some of the things made me laugh really hard. Like there was one tweet where they were like, if I have to see this girl's effed up eyebrows one more time, and I just laughed so hard because it's like, that's just like something that people say, like, you know, like, oh my God, this face. Like once you see someone's face in your TV that many times without your like consent, you know, it just keeps popping up. Like eventually people are going to get sick of seeing your face. So I think that was another reason why I didn't do a lot of the interviews too, because I'm like, people are already, they've had enough.
Oh, what a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, but I think that people were kind of like more mad at Peloton than they were you or your actor husband. Just from all of the stuff that I read. That's actually
kind of true. And then it was after I did the Today Show and I said, I think it was just my face. Like it was just the look on my face that really stuck with everyone. They called my agent like that day and were like, we want to send Monica a bike. And I was like, oh, that's how you get a bike. You just blame it on yourself. So I got a bike. And
well,
now I get
I'm
to be
sure
part of the community.
I mean, your face sold them a lot of bikes.
Yeah.
So that was worth every penny. So when did you end up getting your bike?
They sent it to me like, I think I got it in like February of this year.
Before
Just in
COVID.
time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well done.
And I had to make space in this like terrible tiny garage that we had. We moved in the last few months we've moved, but we had this little garage that I was like, I need to make space for this like beautiful, expensive bike. Like, what am I going to do? And the guys that delivered it were like asking my husband, because my husband went outside for them to deliver it and they had his name on the delivery. And they were like, are you familiar with the bike? And he was like, no, but my wife is. She was the one in the commercial. And the guys were like, what? And he was like, yeah, do you want me to have her come out? And they were just like, it was so funny how surprised they were. They were like, we're delivering a bike to the Peloton woman right now. Like, this is what? It was so funny. We like took pictures and stuff. But
they were probably like, wait, she divorced the guy from the commercial and didn't get custody of the bike? This guy's a bigger dick than we thought.
It was in his name. I wanted in my name. It's a new fresh start.
Best response ever.
Yes. So you got a Peloton.
Yeah. What do you think of it? How much do you ride it?
So when I first got it, I was always the kind of person that needed to like go to a class and be in a class with someone telling me what to do so that I like didn't give up or stop early. I was never the kind of person that could work out at home. I'd always just be like, that's enough. Like, I'm tired. So I would, but like, I didn't realize the way that these bikes were was that, there are people riding live with you that you can see that are helping hold you accountable. I didn't really get that right away.
Okay.
At first I was just like, oh, there are live classes and there are on-demand classes. I didn't really know because when we were shooting the commercial, it was just the bike wasn't powered on.
Oh, gotcha.
They kind of explained it to me, but I'd never been on one before. I'd only done like spin classes. So when I got it, I was sort of like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then when things started to kind of like close down with all of the restrictions and stuff, I was like, I'm going to give this more of a chance. I'm going to get on it more often. And then I was on it like every single day, like every single day. Then I broke my toe on one of my kids' toys and couldn't put a shoe on for a month. And I thought I was going to lose it. I thought I was going to lose it. And then I got back on. So my goal is 200 by my birthday, which is December 20th. So that's my goal.
How close are you?
Rides. I'm close. I'm going to make it. I know I'm going to make it.
Well, that's exciting.
I think I have to at least do one ride a day. I think maybe one day I have to do 2 rides.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I really want a shout out. Is that how you get one? You have to have a birthday and a milestone on the same day?
So if
change your leaderboard name to Peloton Wife,
and you will have a shout out.
With my picture with my face.
Yeah, for real.
They probably wouldn't believe you.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I want to know. Who are you riding with? Do you have like a favorite instructor?
I rode with Hannah Frankson this morning. She had a live ride. I love her. She's so like calming, but she's also like all business in a lot of ways. And I really like that about her. I feel like she's like a teammate that you'd play like sports with growing up, like someone that was just good and and encouraging, but like strong, and you want to be like her. I ride a lot with Cody lately because of his music, like his pop music just makes me feel like I'm socializing again with other adults.
So here's what you do when you decide who you want to ride with for your 200th. Okay. And that's a big week because it's right before the holidays. There's going to be so many holiday rides. So it's going to be a tough choice for you. But when you decide, what you do is you reach out to them on Instagram. And you said you don't do Facebook anymore at all?
No.
Okay, so whoever you decide to ride with, let me, if you want, you can send me an email. I will get a hold of their admin who for their Facebook group and connect you through that, because a lot of times the admins for their Facebook group, like they talk to the instructors. So depending on who it is, and then if they know you're going to be on, they will totally give you a shout out. I guarantee.
Oh, that's amazing. I want to do it. So I keep telling my husband, I was like, I really want a shout out. And he was like, well, I mean, why don't you just message one of them? I'm like, they're not going to respond to me.
Yes, they will. Yes, they will. They absolutely will.
I'm like, they're busy and they're famous and everyone's asking them to do that.
But you're the Peloton wife. They are going to respond to you.
As long as you can convince them that you're really that person. Because I'm sure there's so many people that use the screen grabs as a joke now.
That's true.
I know. And mine isn't even that. I have like a little tiny icon of like a sunset. I'm like, just like so basic on there.
Well, Crystal's like a Peloton concierge, so
perfect.
I will
like
help
having
you.
a black card now. I can just message you, let you know what I need.
She will intercede on your behalf.
Definitely, yeah. I'll email you and we'll go from there. But seriously, if once you decide,
how far in advance do they put out the schedule? Like, when can I look and see what
at least a week? Some of the stuff for the 19th, whatever that Sunday is. I know the Jen Sherman ride's already up, so I know some of those rides are already populated through the 20th. So so before COVID hit, they did 2 weeks. It was at least 2 weeks, but now because of COVID, they do like a week-ish. And so for the bike, there's more options than the other disciplines. There's more, like they tend to go closer to the 2 weeks. Like if you were just looking at yoga, for example, you might only see like a week out. But whenever whenever you're looking at the bike, they have more options. So just keep an eye on that. Make your plan for your big 200. And you contact them ahead of time. And if you do share your leaderboard name here on the show, I guarantee you will get tons of high fives because everybody will be so excited to ride with you.
I love high fiving. I'm like a big high fiver. I'll like, if I see people that I follow or that follow me on a ride, I'll like join the class, high five them, and then leave to like do a class that I was going to do.
Yes.
It's a drive-by five.
That's right.
And then sometimes I'll high five people that are like ahead of me and behind me to be like encouraging. And then I'm like, wait, what if they think I'm like talking trash because I like was like a point? I don't know. I never know. I never know what I'm doing.
Just have fun. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I know.
I do not appreciate the high fives where somebody passes me and then they high five me. I'm always just like,
that's what I'm always worried about. I'm like, did that look like I was just like, ha ha, eat my dust?
They call that the on your left with a middle finger.
Did you? I really liked that beta testing thing that they did. Do you know when they're going to introduce that like for good?
I was told they were going to take it down for a couple weeks and then it was going to be back. So I don't think it'll be a very long wait at all.
I liked that. Did you like that?
I loved it. I had so much fun with that. For anybody listening who's not sure what we're talking about the sessions, and you could go in and join and start a whole fresh new leaderboard, and I loved it. But yeah, that was
really fun.
The Peloton Prophet, as we call it, they sometimes come up with how things are going to go, and they said that there was going to be up for a couple weeks. They would do tweaks, and they would take all the information from everybody, and then it would come back shortly thereafter, a couple weeks after that. There's also going to be in March of 2021, there's going to be class stack. No, it's early 2021. There's going to be class stacking. So if you wanted to, you can make a playlist of 2 or 3 classes that you can take back to back. So that's going to be very exciting too.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, they're coming out with all kinds of cool stuff. I love it.
Definitely.
They never stop making changes.
Never.
It's like George Lucas in movies he made 30 years ago.
Yeah.
They just keep making changes to it forever.
Yeah.
Except people like these changes.
That's true.
For the most part.
They're positive.
Yeah, that's true.
So do you use any of the other Peloton content? Do you get to do any of the strength classes or any of that? Like, do you enjoy doing any of that other stuff?
I tried some of the bike boot camp classes recently. I loved them. I've done like the outside, like running ones. I've done the yoga, some of the meditation ones. I really like all of them, but I find that I push myself so much harder on the actual bike.
Absolutely.
The running outside, that one I haven't really been doing because I can't really run in a mask. I tried and it's kind of uncomfortable and it's kind of tough. So I was like, maybe I'll just hold off on that for a little while. But when I first got it and we didn't have to be in masks outside, I tried it and I loved it. I thought it was so great because it feels like someone's coaching you. Like you feel like you have a personal trainer with you.
Yes.
So I really liked that.
And I don't, when you are able to go back outside without a mask again, a lot of the classes that they do that aren't necessarily for outdoors, they'll coach you through it and be like, okay, here's your halfway point if you're outside, and they'll tell you to come back. So you can still take some of those as well. So you're not just restricted to the outdoor content. I really enjoy those as well.
Yeah, I like that they offer all of that stuff because then if you're not near your bike and you still want to work out, there's so many things that you can still do. Like my bike, the power cord actually broke off and fell into the bike, and I was like, no, this was like a month ago, and I called Peloton and they were like, oh, the next available person to come out and fix it is 1 month from now. Oh. And I was like, what? And I literally posted a picture of the broken wire on my Nextdoor app, and somebody messaged me like right away and were like, I'm an electrician, I can fix that. I was like, when? Now? I was like, I need to hit 200 rides by my birthday. They're like, what are you talking about?
So maybe that'll make people feel better if they're waiting for their Bike Plus and it gets delayed. That the Peloton wife couldn't get her power cord fixed.
Even you had to wait.
Yeah.
Even you had to wait.
No, I did not try to pull any cards, but I don't know if I even have any. So.
Probably not with customer service because it's tier 1 support.
No.
And they'd be like, what's a what?
Who? Right. They're like,
happened?
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah.
We'll see you in a month.
Oh, the old Peloton wife. Canard. How many times a day do we get that one?
Right.
So what is your leaderboard name if you would care to share?
It's not that interesting. And I actually wanted to ask you guys too. Can you change your leaderboard name as many times as you want and then go back to anything that you had before? Or can somebody else take it? How does that work?
Yes and yes. So you can change it anytime you want, but it can also be taken. There was a great debacle with
very controversial back in the early days.
Very controversial. There's a longtime writer named Yaya, or that's her leaderboard name, Yanina, and she actually changed her leaderboard name to celebrate somebody's milestone. It was a big thing. Everybody changed their leaderboard name one morning to celebrate this milestone. And so she was off of, she changed it for like 45 minutes. She went back to go change it back and it was gone. And it turned into a big kerfluffle. Yeah. She did eventually get it back, but these days I would not try it.
Yeah.
And if it's something that if you already have one you love, stick with it. But if you want
no, I don't. I don't love it. It's just, it's literally Moni Rue. I'm like Monica Ruiz. It's Moniru. And I when I first put in a name, I was just sort of like thinking of when they make you choose a username on like any website that you go to or whatever. So I wasn't really thinking about it in terms of like, this is the leaderboard name. This is what everyone sees. I wasn't thinking about that way because I didn't have a bike. I didn't know what it was like, So now every time I get on, I'm like, I need a better name.
I mean, I don't know how you don't choose Peloton Mom or Peloton Wife. Like
if it's
Peloton,
available.
or Peloton Woman. Like if any of those are available, that needs to be yours. Like you need it. And I would petition that even if it's not available, somebody needs to give it up for you because like you earned that.
That you have.
Maybe I'll change it.
Or you could always do something like, I don't know how many characters you get, but
I want to say it's 13. I don't know if that's accurate.
The real Peloton Wife.
Yeah.
Something like
that. That's another option.
Just a thought.
Yeah.
The official.
There you go.
Although that's getting a lot of characters crammed in there.
That is.
That's way too many characters. You can't do it. Maybe just all emojis of eyebrows.
Well, then you'll never get a shout out.
Emojis?
You'll never get a shout out.
Nobody's going to give a shout out to like Christmas tree, pumpkin, smiley face.
It's just not going to happen.
American flag.
Okay, well, you have to follow up and tell us if you do change it. And also, if you change it before your 200th, I definitely need to know that if I help you with getting your shout out from your instructor. So,
okay.
But
I'll definitely let you know if I change it. I haven't decided, but I want something a little more interesting.
Well, I'm sure if you posted about it on Instagram, you'd get about 1 million responses. Everybody has an opinion.
That they do. I think she knows all about the internet and their opinions.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Right. I told my husband, I was like, well, if people start following me and they start seeing me and they look at my rides, they're going to know when I like got tired and just tried to give up for a minute. And they're going to be looking at I'm going to be actually held more accountable.
Well, on the other hand, you could just tell him to get a life.
I know, right? Sorry. My kid came in the room and wanted me to get a cookie.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You're still a mom and you still got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I mean, that's a lot to,
I know.
That's a lot to handle.
That's usually when I try to ride is when the 2-year-old is taking a nap, the 4-year-old gets the iPad and I can do like a maximum of a 30-minute ride. And the whole time he's asking to get on the bike. And I'm like, 5 more minutes. I'm like dying.
So, do you have any advice for people who are just getting a bike?
My only advice would be to try out a lot of different instructors. Because like, I think I saw something online once that was like, this is the instructor for every mood that you're in. And I think that's so true. Like I tend to get stuck with the same instructors a lot because I get so used to, the kind of music that they play or their kind of routine. And I'm like, I don't want to veer away from that. And then I'll just mix it up one time and be like, oh, why don't I ride with this person more often? So I think like trying a lot of different instructors, like right off the bat I think would be a really good idea. Because then you can kind of see like, that they're all different moods,
Absolutely. Definitely good advice. I wholeheartedly agree.
Well, awesome. I guess before we let you go, where can people find you on the interwebs?
If you want to,
If
be
you
found.
want to be found.
Oh yeah, no, I'm on Instagram as Mon Pearl, and everyone kept telling me you need to change your Instagram name because people don't know who you are because of your Instagram name. I'm like, that's okay. I mean, it says Monica Ruiz when you go there, so if you look for Monica Ruiz, it's just that's mine. But that's my Instagram. I'm not on Facebook anymore. Too many people tried to hack it when all of this stuff was happening, and I was like, maybe I should just get rid of this. And I never put it back on. But that's it.
Okay.
Okay,
That's the only place I am.
I have to tell you a quick story. I don't even know if you'll remember this, but there was an instructor that worked for Peloton named Stephen Little, and
Yes.
do you remember? Because you ran into him,
remember.
and
I was putting Christmas cards in a mailbox, and he goes, "Are you the Peloton woman?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "Oh my God, I was an instructor. Can we get a selfie?" And I was like, "Sure." And if I had a bike, if that happened to me now, I would have been like freaking out about an instructor, but because I didn't have a bike, I was sort of like, "You're nice."
well, it was funny
I would
because
have been the one freaking out.
I couldn't find you on Instagram. I looked for you on Instagram, and then when I follow Stephen Little, and so whenever he posted that selfie, and then he tagged you, and that's how I started following you. So I just thought that was a funny story.
Right.
And he's been on the show as well. He's very nice.
Oh, okay. He was so nice. He was like walking his dog, and he was just, it was so cute.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to join us today. And I just got to thinking.
Thanks for having me.
I hope the windows were down, or you left your engine running, or something that you're.
No,
You're not melting, are you?
It's boiling hot in here. No. I have some windows down. I'm good. I'm good.
I was like, is someone going to come and rescue you? Like, just got to thinking. I was like, she's in
You
her
guys are like,
car
she
all the
hasn't
time.
logged off, and it looks like she's sleeping.
Yeah. It's like, I know we're supposed to rescue children from cars, but I don't know what the etiquette is on adults.
And I'm like in my neighborhood, so I'm thinking like people are probably like, "What is this suspicious woman sitting in a car?"
They're like,
When you see people sitting in their cars, you're like, "What are they doing?" Yeah.
She's just been in her car the whole time.
Actually, you know what? Right now, it's probably not that unusual to see people like needing some space in
that's
their
a good
car.
point.
That is also
that's a
true.
very
Yeah.
Maybe it's less creepy now.
Well, thank you again for talking to us. Especially like I'm like doubly honored when like I didn't realize that you didn't kind of make the rounds. So
Yeah.
I'm very, very honored that you chose to talk to us.
No, I'm so glad that, and it's a perfect place to talk about it because this is a community of people who are all, like-minded. So it's, of course I wanted to come and talk to you guys because you guys are enthusiastic about this, not, trying to get me to say something that I'll regret.
Oh, no, not at all.
Not at all.
No, we're not. And we're not gotcha. We're not a gotcha kind of show.
No.
So.
We love Peloton and we love the whole thing. And it's really great to talk to you because I feel like we've kind of documented the entire process.
Yeah.
So it's just fun to kind of come full circle and get to talk to you directly. So thank you very much.
On the anniversary of
Exactly.
She might be the only person in the world that has two Pelloversaries.
Oh my God, it's true.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Maybe that's my new screen name, 2 Pelliversaries.
I love it.
Hey, I kind of dig that one.
And it's probably not taken.
Yeah. You just have to snag it before this airs.
I know. Hurry.
Well, this will be perfect because I plan on this airing on December 18th. So that'll be great for your birthday present as well.
Awesome. So exciting.
All right. Well, we will let you go. Thank you again. And you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Bye, guys.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
So I guess that brings this one to a close.
It does.
As everyone's rushing off to follow the Peloton wife on their bike.
Yes, I did immediately.
Yes.
I did immediately. And I hope that her toe is not broken so that she can still take her milestone ride this weekend. I
Yes.
am rooting for her.
Fingers and toes crossed for that. And thank you very much to her for agreeing to do that. Like
Absolutely.
I didn't realize until we were in the middle of the interview that how she hadn't said yes to any of that stuff.
I know.
And so
I
I
know.
felt very honored.
I know.
Very honored indeed. So
Also, reach out to her when this episode airs on Friday. So make sure and reach out to her and tell her happy birthday.
oh, that's right. It's her birthday.
It is her birthday.
Yeah.
It's a big weekend. She's gonna have the birthday, and then she's gonna be on the show, and then hopefully she's gonna do her milestone ride.
That's probably the biggest thing that's ever happened to her.
I'm sure.
So I guess we are done here. What, pray tell, do you have in store for people? Not next week,
Oh,
but in
you
2
tricked
weeks,
me.
because we will not have an episode next week, because next week Friday is Christmas Day, and geez, people, come on,
We're taking a day.
let us have Christmas.
We are going to talk to Dr. Stephen Nalbach.
Okay.
Yeah.
So until then, where can people find you?
People can find me at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, the bike, or the tread at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. While you're there, like the page, join the group. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Clip Out, where you can see all of these interviews, like Monica Ruiz in
Yes.
all her video glory. And of course, sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time, keep pedaling
And running.
Clip in, set yourself free.